When David Crane called me several months ago to ask me if I wanted to talk in Chautauqua, we of course had no way of predicting what was going to happen over summer. And however, we did know that the security situation in the world had changed dramatically. And we also knew that those of us who still had Fukuyama's end of history on the bedside table had to get rid of it and find something else. And of course, as we sit here today, and I'm trying to analyze the world disorder, none of us has a crystal ball to tell what the future brings. But it's quite clear that we are witnessing a very surprising and very worrying state of the world today. And it was not supposed to be like that. The 21st century was supposed to be much better than the previous one. Just very recently, I learned they were saying that an optimist is a person who has not read the news. And this seems to be very appropriate in present circumstances. And then there are all these other sayings that things are so bad that they can only get better, which doesn't seem to be applying right now. And that obviously things can be much worse. And this is, I think, what we are facing right now. And it seems that many places in the world are falling apart, and some of us are worried about the situation in the Middle East. Some of us are looking at Iraq specifically, at Syria. Me, speaking as an Estonian and Estonian diplomat, I cannot help being worried about what is happening in Ukraine and about the actions that Russia is undertaking. And in Estonia, we are sometimes wondering if history has the tendency to repeat itself. And here I have to remember our former president, when we restored independence, he kept saying, we don't have much time. You have to be aware, we have to hurry. There is no time. Enough is dead. And we really realized there was not much time. So they also asked me to analyze in this world disorder when the ICC stands and what will be the future of the ICC. And we all know that this ICC was supposed to be part of this better world that we were constructing, where there was no impunity, and that you all put it in place under circumstances when we were a little bit more optimistic than we are right now. But isn't this a blessing that you have had almost these 20 years to establish the ICC in circumstances that were a little bit more, or even much more unanimous and much more supportive towards international criminal justice than we see the situation right now? And one thing, sometimes the small things are very striking. Just recently, somebody told me, but look, everybody now knows that the ICC is the court in The Hague. And it wasn't like that 2 or 3 years ago. It wasn't. Now, apparently, everybody knows that the ICC is the court in The Hague. And this is thanks to you. You have been working towards that. So, the state of affairs at the court, and I should be very humble speaking in the presence of a prosecutor and deputy prosecutor, but the mantra usually is that there are 21 cases arising from 8 situations, and most of these situations stem from the fact that the country concerned has approached the court and asked the court to become involved. But this doesn't tell the whole story. It's also useful to look over the years. And in this respect, this year has been extremely, extremely amazing. There are so many requests for the ICC to get involved, either by states, by organizations, or through the United Nations system, that is absolutely unprecedented. There has been an attempt to refer Syria to the ICC, failed attempt. The Human Rights Council Commission of Inquiry has looked into the situation in Democratic Republic of Korea, again suggesting that that would be the place for the ICC. We also know that Ukraine has made the self-refer. We also know that the Foreign Minister of Palestine has recently visited the court, asking what were the options for Palestine to create a relationship with the ICC. And so many other developments have happened, which really means that the news have gotten out, and the court is doing a good work, and it has the confidence of states. We also have to say that the ICC has started to work as a real court. This was one of the things that President Song told me when I first met him. I'm quite sure that you're a fine diplomat, but you have to understand that you will be working in a system where you have to deal with a real court. It is a court. It's not an international institution or political playing field. So the court has started to work like that. And of course, from my position, I've been mostly dealing with political support to the activities of the court. How do you measure political support to the court? Through the budget, for instance, very easy. Through the budget, this political support is there. Although, of course, every year we have to go through certain fights, but every year the court gets more money. The diplomatic and political support is also through the United Nations Security Council. If we look at how many peacekeeping mandates now have the component of working together with the ICC. But still there is a question, how do you measure political support? And what happens if things get tough? And one way of measuring this support is if this support is maintained when you have to suffer from it. Last year, around this time, and even earlier, some of our African states bodies started approaching us, saying that they were not able to maintain their cooperation and good attitude to the court because that may bring about significant economic problems or even political problems. And these news were not received well by other states' parties. But those African countries said that really they were afraid about the economic well-being of their country if things became complicated and if they still had to maintain the support to the court. 1 year, let's fast forward 1 year. We are right now in the circumstances where we are. And we know that one European country has annexed part of another European country. The US has sanctions against that country, and the European Union also has decided on sanctions. And we are looking at what is happening in the world. And in Europe, some of the biggest supporters of international law, international criminal law, all of a sudden are now speaking about remaining neutral. And some are speaking about economic implications of these sanctions, which are not entirely welcome. So I think we have to take that aspect into consideration. When the real situation comes closer to you, you start thinking about your national interest. Right now, a number of the state party has commissioned a report to look into what to do if states are not cooperating with the court. This famous issue of non-cooperation actually involves only one issue, the failure to arrest a sitting president of a country. And in that report, I was surprised to see that there is sanctions are proposed. I guess it's very easy to propose sanctions against small countries in Africa because it really doesn't affect us. But now coming to this issue of prosecuting sitting heads of state and the basic principle that nobody is above the law, which you know was a major achievement in Rome. We are not very good at this. No, not yet. The problems that we faced with the issue of Kenya last year, and also the problems that we faced with the failure to arrest Mr. al-Bashir, these are all linked to the issue of whether no one is above the law and what do we do if investigations are concerning heads of state. Last year, when the Assembly of States Parties all of a sudden turned itself into a political body, because it's supposed to be just an administrative body adopting the budget. We just found no other way of sorting out the political turmoil that had arisen around the court. So we thought, okay, let the Assembly be a political body. So I even had to hear people trying to convince me that if the Assembly decided on a different regime concerning heads of state, and maybe even President al-Bashir would agree to appear before the court represented by counsel. This hasn't happened yet, but we're still hopeful. So, concerning the Assembly of States Parties and what we saw last year, again, I hope that we will not have the opportunity of turning into a political body anymore in the near future. We also have to be mindful of the fact that the request to review the legal framework in which this court works is still there, and this request is not going to disappear. The understanding of a lot of countries is that a head of state should not be prosecuted while he is carrying out his tasks. So this is where we stand right now. What does all that mean? Is there a place for the existing accusation? Yes, there is. But of course the court has to be mindful of the fact that the political support and the support of states parties is not limitless. It was said very clearly to the court last year through the Assembly meeting and through all these discussions that we had, and that also happened in the UN Security Council. And the best way for this court right now to render service to states parties is clearly responding to the requests of states parties to get involved. Whether that fully covers the goal that was there and the idea that was there in Rome, and that is written in the Rome Statute, I do not know. But this is where we stand right now. The very promising fact is that there is this request, there is this yearning for justice. And maybe just to finish, I tell you one of the things that we did, my office and the court, I was explaining that nowadays a lot of things get done through social media. So we launched a social media campaign for the Day of International Criminal Justice. Everybody was asked to take pictures with a sign. So it doesn't cost anything, and you get people from all over the world to do it. And a lot of people participated in it, and they did not see any problems in having their photos posted. And then when all of that finished, then we started getting requests from people who said, can you please take off my photo because I got in trouble. I hope that we are able to continue building the court, able to continue supporting international criminal justice and international justice in general,